Dark Skies, the Nemansk incident, commentary track. Commentary playthrough, I mean, I'm sorry. Way to fuck up right off the bat. There's narration coming now, but I will lower the volume and talk over it because there is a whole lot of it. And this video is geared towards people that have played the game already and were involved in making the game, or also other Game Guru users. I decided to make videos about games where I know the creators, where I have used the engines myself, simply because I think that is more interesting for my viewers and also for me than grabbing random video games off the internet and commenting on them, because there are millions of people of YouTube that do that already, and yeah, it's just not that interesting or entertaining for me to do. So I hope this is something that interests you, and I intend to be honest about what I think about the game, how it has developed, and I hope that some of that feedback will be valuable to you. Dark Skies, in my opinion, is the best looking and best playing Game Guru game around. Period. I do think I have in my own games that the combat is a little bit better, but not by a large margin, so that's something that I will talk about later too. I've been following the game since its inception, and I consider the creator a friend of mine, so I'm really looking forward to see how far it evolved. At this stage, I'm supposed to get a gun in this building. Game Guru, the engine, does not have any shadows when it comes to its dynamic lighting, so interiors can be tricky to do. Tiny steps. You probably didn't notice this, but your brain did. This is very well made. The sprites that fake the volumetric lighting here. The best I have seen in a Game Guru or FPS creator game that uses this technique, because it looks almost like real volumetric lighting and not just like sprites. Very, very nice. I like. I'm supposed to find a gun here, but there isn't one. Maybe I missed it. But there are custom grenades now, which is a nice touch. And yes, as I said, I will speak over the narration because there is just so much of it.
Last thing we heard from them were unusually high radiation reports.
Duke has managed to... Duke is DK Productions. I will use these terms interchangeably. Duke has cleared up the audio because they used to be very distorted in a previous version of the game, and it was difficult to make out what the contact man was saying. Add to that there are German and Russian accents involved in the game, which gives it its charm, sure, but it also makes it hard to understand for non-native English speakers and perhaps stupid English speakers as well. What am I saying? Let's keep playing the game. I didn't find the pistol, but I know that there's an MP5 hidden here. Custom animations, that's nice. I have contributed to this project. For example, all these barren naked trees you see around, I have made those a few years back. I think they work well in the game. Specular effects on the terrain. This building is new. Aha, is there a ladder? Duke has a tendency to hide weapons on rooftops. A Dragonov, wonderful. Aiming on sights is not properly implemented yet, but whatever. I can use the crosshair. This version of the level looks better at first glance because it's a lot more natural in its colorization. The previous version was entirely sepia almost, so everything was kind of orange. The problem is the engine now has new post-processing and some kind of ambient occlusion has been added, a better kind of ambient occlusion. And it's kind of rough on the foliage, and things in the distance look a lot less defined and kind of aliasy, which may be a problem because you have to fight enemies that hide in the bushes and enemies that are far away from you from time to time in this game. The radiation effects are back too, because they used to be missing for a while, I think. I've been playing a few levels of Dark Skies, testing them earlier this year, and I noticed that there was almost no more radiation, but it's back now.
I'm under fire. Repeat, there are hostiles here. There are at least 3 armed guys at the border checkpoint. No ordinary army soldiers from what I can tell.
What? This area was supposed to be evacuated days ago. We have no choice. Engage the enemy and get past that checkpoint. I need to make some phone calls. Keep us up.
This first level is one of the few levels in the game where the combat really works in an outdoor level. I've always said this, and it's a bit unfortunate, but there's very little that can be improved here. But the combat in Dark Skies is its weakest point. As you can probably tell. If this game had some sleek combat AI like the original Stalker games actually. They're from 2007, and while they have their problems too, make no mistake about that, the combat loop is what kept the series going for so long. Combat loop and atmosphere. Dark Skies has really neat atmosphere in places, but nah. I really don't want to shit on the game like this. It just has to be said that the weakest link of the game is the AI and the combat. The enemy soldiers are at least a bit of a threat, but later on you fight mutants that will just kind of run towards you. I wish I had a good solution, and if I ever come up with something I will share it with the creator, but I don't know how to fix it either. Yeah, the level looks better. I noticed there are a lot more items in the game now, and I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Let's get this guy. Also, I'm recording this after I have recorded the video, so if the audio happens to be out of sync at some point in the video, that's my bad, and it could not be helped, but I try my best to keep everything in sync. So if I ever comment on something that has already happened a couple minutes ago, that's how you know the audio is not exactly syncing up with the video. But it might actually never happen, so let's not talk about it just yet. There's a decent amount of retexture colorization in the game. With a lot of Game Guru games, when you have wooden boxes in a wooden building with wooden planks, you have all these models are from different creators and have a different color and hue, and it looks fucking awful. And I'm glad that DK Productions took the time to do basic retexturing. There's just this culture in game design right now where people just plop in assets from various artists without a care in the world and any inkling of trying to change them, and it really boils my blood. It's just not making a game at that point if you're not making or adjusting anything by yourself. Here, this is what I mean. It's a lot more forgiving too. I have more health than I used to have in other versions. Which I suppose is to avoid frustration. But yes, it would be so nice if the combat was better. There's also great use of the few shader effects that Game Guru has. Like this tower has a very metallic sheen to it. DK Production has a knack to make these retrographic looking levels that really feel like a place compared to other Game Guru games. Like I can buy that this is some field somewhere in Russia with the wonderful evening sky. Or morning sky, I don't know. Which is really an achievement in Game Guru because it's difficult to make anything look good in that engine. You will miss a lot of this because I have lowered the volume for the narration, but the game actually has really good sound effects. The ambient music, the ambient sounds. Working with sound in Game Guru has always frustrated me personally to no end because the engine tends to avoid playing certain sound effects for no reason.
You are now 2 miles away from our soldiers.
So I consider this a major achievement by DK Productions.
Getting weaker. We cannot guarantee a working radio connection once you get there. We must find.
And we have completed the first level. This here is actually one of my favorite levels. I like how it looks. It has this wonderful autumn feeling to it. Yeah, here you can see the ambient occlusion fucking around with the grass.
Can you hear me?
It looks better in some ways and worse in others. Oh, no. That's new.
Okay.
I know why that's there. Someone played this game and complained that they didn't find the soldiers and that they got lost and that there is no objective marker, and now there is a little text message that tells you where to go. Oh well. Nice building, really cool. Let's see if something's hidden back here. No. There's a lot of use of very wet looking specular highlights in the game, which gives it this nostalgic feeling of something from back in the day, 2005, 2006. If you are a bit younger, maybe someone born in the 2000s, you may not believe this, but shiny stuff in video games, shiny specular stuff used to be what considered next generation great graphics. Kind of like reflective stuff now with all the PBR mirroring. Same thing, different decade. Yeah, when you get shot in the game, it kind of looks and feels like someone is shooting paintball pellets at you. Not real bullets. But yes, it cannot be helped. This is cool. There are a lot of funky buildings in the game. I'm an outdoorsy guy myself, and I take a lot of walks off the beaten path, and it's always kind of imposing to find something like this in real life. Like a water tower or something. Yeah, what you see here is highly unusual for Game Guru games. They usually don't have this level of visual fidelity. They don't have terrain looking this almost acceptable, and just a variety of foliage on display. You can Google other Game Guru games if this is new to you, and you can see how much of an achievement this project is, even if it looks dated and kind of cheap in quotation marks for anyone who is just a casual appreciator of indie games. Not all indie games look like Black Mesa. There's also an animated sky, if you notice, which is really a nice touch. And this is personal bias, but I prefer looking at something like this with so many handcrafted items and effects and weapons. Then the frame rate, however, is terrible, and there's nothing that can be said to mitigate that. It is simply terrible. I'm playing this on very modern hardware. It should not lag the way it lags. Yeah, here you see the AI in action. Amazing. But as I was saying, I rather look at something like this with a lot of handcrafted objects, sounds, and animations and so on than something that has been entirely made out of asset store or marketplace items. I just hate the modern mentality when it comes to making indie games. Not from the creators themselves, but from a lot of people in creation communities that kind of imply that, yeah, all you need is a good template and a few marketplace assets and you can make a game in a week. And yeah, you can. That is called an asset flip, and that is not really a game. In the same way that a lot of people nowadays assume that everything that you have in your game is indeed from some storefront. Even though a lot of people like me and DK Productions make things by hand still, which is kind of part of the appeal of making a video game to me. Ah, yeah. I sound really butthurt, but it's just because I had this exact conversation a few hours ago and it still lingers. I will stop talking about this subject now. As I said, hidden things on rooftops. And there it is. Gewehr 47. Alright. There are dozens and dozens of weapons in the game that you can find all the time. Which I guess is not really believable, but it's fun to find them and see how they play. After all, it's a Game Guru game, not a military simulator. The excavator looks really good. Now we have found a military camp where a lot of narration will happen.
What's your name?
The name's Vizinov.
Ah, Privyet Vizinov. Go up the hill and talk to the commander. He's waiting for you.
All right, thanks.
Initially, I always thought that this level was paced badly, because there's going to be a lot of narration coming up now. But given that this is the second level, I think it's actually pretty good, because it kind of vets out the players. Someone who is a bit more casual and expects studio quality from a tiny indie game like this will be deterred at this point, I believe. And everyone else who has played a lot of indie games, has played a lot of mods. This guy glitched out for a second. Yeah, everyone who has played a lot of games of this type will then now see, okay, this is what this is, and kind of meet the games on its own terms, which I think is important.
Come on, Vizinov. Step in.
Great job with the rock face in the background.
You're back up. How can I help?
Finally! About time you showed up.
I like how there's just food and vodka bottles everywhere, but no water bottles. It's almost kind of a dig at Russian drinking culture.
We are in deep shit here. The mission has been nothing but a failure so far. I sent a patrol to explore the radio tower, and they did not come back. 5 guys just vanished. Something feels really
I've been playing the game for all of like 30 minutes and I already have like a dozen guns. It's good.
We also saw unknown forces approaching our camp at night. We all feel very uncomfortable, to say the least. First, you need to talk to Mikhail. He is our mechanic and about to repair a vehicle. With that vehicle, you can drive to the radio tower area. See him and
Yeah, these dialogues, I'm not sure if how to make this better. Maybe freeze the player, because you can just walk out. Nothing is stopping you. Or maybe block the player from leaving the tent and then unblock it after the dialogue is completed, something like that. I had written multiple choice dialogue in my games, and I noticed that everyone who played them skipped it. The more you know. Aha. Yes, more guns. We need more guns. I'm running around because I forgot to speak to Mikhail, which will happen soon. The character of Mikhail has been voiced by me, so you will hear me speak twice in the next couple of seconds.
You must be Mikhail.
I will shut up then for a while.
I need it for my mission.
Of course. You're here for 5 minutes and you get to drive the van I've been repairing for the last days.
I will find the lost guys and try to repair the radio tower. Hindering a mission is a crime, and you'll be charged for it.
Look, man, we are all under pressure here.
The shotgun is mirrored. If this were a real gun and you would pump it, you would fire the shell casing straight in your face.
I'm not holding you back.
But that's okay, a lot of video games have mirrored guns. Back in the day, some production executive has decided that seeing moving parts on weapons is cool, and therefore all the AK weapons in older games are mirrored.
5 should be enough for you to get to the radio tower.
This trend has stopped lately, but you can still see games that do it. The Far Cry games are a good example of that. But I think this game here is the only one with a mirrored shotgun. Alright, let's grab the fuel tanks. There's nothing up here. There were probably a dozen versions of this level, and in earlier parts everything looked very different back then. But I kind of liked that level too, except that the fuel tanks were very well hidden. You had to really know the level to find them all. Now it's the opposite of case where it's way too easy. Which goes to show when making games that balancing is really difficult to do. When it comes to little indie games, it's almost better to make them too easy rather than too hard, simply because that way you retain your players. But yes, it's something that has to be done very carefully. Yeah, I think that's all of them.
Yes.
That's all of them. As you can tell, I can count to 5. But that's about the full extent of my math skills. And that pretty much concludes this level. Well, almost.
I will take care of this. You go see the commander. He wants to talk to you.
I also think it's really cool that the game offers a bit of stuff to do that isn't just shooting the awkward enemies.
The van should be ready very soon. I got some fuel for Mikhail, and he is filling it up now.
Yes. Okay, Vedinov. I hate to send you, but it's my only option. You need to look after my patrol and see if you can activate the radio tower somehow. Grab everything you need from our ammo supplies. It's not much, but it's everything we have now. Stay safe at all costs. Don't do anything stupid. I need you to survive this.
I'll do my best to find you guys and repair the radio tower.
Very good. Now get to the van.
Yes, this... Duke, if you are watching this, I can tell you how to fix this, but you are not going to like it because it involves frag motion.
Find them all and bring them back.
Hit me up if that interests you.
I'm on the way.
And anyone else still listening, glad you're around. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section or on some bathroom stall. Scribble a little heart in your notebook. I shut up now. And end the level. Bada bing, bada boom.
Headquarter, can you hear me? Okay, time to take care of this radio tower.
These camera flybys are not exactly something that I'm a fan of. I mean, I have the feeling that they're here because it's not something you usually see in a Game Guru game, not because they add anything, and the game is already slow paced, and now it's paced even slower because now I have to look at the level before I get to look at the level. But I guess that's personal preference, and some people might think that this is awesome. I don't. That building is really cool though. I think it's an EBE structure, which I discourage, but it's actually made pretty decently here. Most of the assets in the game are a few notches above what you can usually see in a Game Guru game. These ammo pickups, I think they don't add ammo to my inventory. Because I've been picking up 7.65mm cases earlier and I didn't notice any of my AK ammo go up.
That must be one of the soldiers.
Alright, more narration.
For gunfight.
Narration.
Large pool of
Narration.
very strong.
English is such a strange language.
He had a PDA with him. Let's see if it contains.
There is a bit too much narration in the game, but, well,
An hour ago, we arrived at
I like the touch that there is a broken tree on the fences and the fences
group of armed guys.
bent downward behind
Searched the
me.
bodies, but didn't get any
Check it
info
out.
on who they are or what they want. We only know one thing. They
Also,
are
if you ever use Game Guru, just,
now
you probably know how
every building
awkward
there is
everything looks in it.
a
And it's a
substation
real
list. Maybe we find something there.
tour de force here that this level is actually a bit atmospheric and creepy, because that's extremely difficult to do in the engine.
Will lead me there.
There are full-blown horror games made with it, and they are almost all exclusively complete dog shit. Some of them are on Steam, check them out. I already have this weapon, but I cannot pick up more ammo for it. Same with the grenade earlier. Now I have more ammo for it, but I lost the shotgun. No biggie, the shotguns are actually useless in the game. Due to the lackluster nature of the combat, your best bets in the game are fully automatic weapons or high-powered semi-automatic weapons. That makes the pistols and shotguns pretty useless. But this is a really pretty atmospheric level. Oh yeah, the radiation is back and there's now some weird cartoon-looking green fog everywhere. That's new, that didn't used to be there. The head-up display is pretty cool too. Everything you need to know is on screen. Except for the little stance indicator on the bottom left corner. I never understood what is the point of that, but a lot of games have them. If you remember, the original Stalker series, unmodded, had pretty atrocious big head-up display. This is tastefully done here. Now I'm going to follow the power line and complete the mission. Nice rocks. The cables connecting from one power pole to the other are all individually placed, which must have been an absolute pain in the ass. This model must have been inspired by the Duga 3 radio tower in the Ukraine. Now, we're nearing the end of this video. I hope this series is something that might interest you. Although I feel that I didn't add too much of value in my commentary. But there might be more.
He also had a PDA.
This is a little too easy to miss.
It mentions that
But yes, there might be more interesting
the
stuff later on when the game
tower
gets a little more experimental. These levels a lot of us have seen several times. I will also make commentary tracks of my own games. Kind of a making of. So that's what will happen on my channel in the future. But yes, less random demos from the internet, because that's simply not that interesting to do. This weapon is very precise and does a lot of damage. Yes, as you can tell, the combat isn't really a challenge. But it looks so cool. I just wish... Same game, same art direction, different engine, and we could do something about this combat. But here, there's just nothing we can do, and it's so frustrating. I had the same frustrations of my own game, which I took away from the Game Guru engines to Unreal Engine 5. Which I don't know if I can ever finish a game in that, but I'm not going to deal with this any longer. So I have a lot of respect for Duke for sticking to it and doing the best with it that he can. Because kind of like in real life, that's all he really can do. And I think the end result is actually pretty cool.
This is not the entrance I'm looking for, but I must be close.
Alright, before the video ends, I have to check if there's something hidden up here. Nope. Alrighty then. Thank you for watching. I will do these in increments of 3 levels.
Yep.
So the next video should be up sometimes within the next few weeks. Stay tuned for more. Feel free to subscribe if this is something that you like. Bye. Have a good one.